Creativity is an amazing ability. It gives us the opportunity to look into the future, to look into our own future, to look into the future of others, and see the possibilities, not just of what others could choose, but of what we can build, what we can make, and of what the world could look like if only a certain few things were to take place. In this video, we're going to talk about the struggle of creative people, particularly ones that are disorganized, particularly ones that, according to systems like the Big Five, are lower in conscientiousness, are lower in their ability to be focused on the details and to do little tasks that build up to big results. This is something I have dealt with throughout my entire life. Being a creative person, being a one who's filled with visions and ideas of how tomorrow could look better. The constant burden of that is what to do today, what to do right now, and how difficult it is for so many creative people to do things right now. Now, a quick journey down psychology road. The Big Five personality system is a popular personality system, one that Jordan Peterson, who we'll talk about in a moment, is a big advocate of. I'll link his test down below if you guys want to learn more about it. But there's two attributes of the Big Five. Conscientiousness. Think of a conscientious person as a dutiful person who shows up for work, who commits to the details, who commits to the little things they have to do to get through the day and to make things better. Think of that opposed somewhat to the other trait, openness. This is more creativity. This is ideas. This is visions. This is aesthetic interests. Now, they are not necessarily always opposed. I have met people who are conscientious and open, but of the ones who are open, many of them are lower in conscientiousness. There is a natural tension between the traits. I myself scored 8% on a conscientiousness test. This was some years ago. But this is a lifelong struggle. This is a lifelong obstacle. But it can become different than an obstacle once we learn to harness something. So this is for creative people. This is for you if you're very creative and are lower in conscientiousness, who struggle with the details, are filled with these incredible visions, but seem to get nowhere with them. And that is to say, haunting, very burdensome thing to deal with. Now, the answer to this is very simple. It's a little hard to stomach, perhaps, but it's very simple. And I only think it's hard to stomach until you practice it. And once you practice it, it is an incredibly freeing mindset, an incredibly freeing discipline that can help you achieve all the things that you want to. And the answer is, the beginning of the answer is right here, that in order to harness creativity, in order to harness these visions, these ideas, this ability to see tomorrow, to see the possibilities, to be drawn to creative projects, in order to harness that, it requires humility, particularly those of us who are lower in conscientiousness. Why? Because we cannot handle as much detail. We cannot handle as much sequencing. We cannot handle as much busy work. It by itself can kill our soul, especially when it's piled on. And we feel obligated and burdened by this weight. And the only thing most of us tend to do is learn how to run away from it or cope with it in oftentimes the not very healthy ways. So in order to harness our creativity, it first requires us to realize something, that when it comes to matters of conscientiousness, when it comes to matters of detail orientation, of things we don't want to do that require these sequences and details, we don't have much juice. We have a low tolerance. We have a little vial of energy to give to that every day. And that's okay, but we have to accept first that we are not a superhero when it comes to those daily tasks. Now, after that humility is faced and accepted, then we get to the real solution. And the real solution is simple. Commit to something, but commit to something little. He who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful also in much. This is a belief that we are required to at least practice. Even if we don't believe it, we have to practice it in order to access these higher levels of creative productivity. This is what this book, Atomic Habits, which has taken over the culture, is all about. It's the entire book about this, about these two quotes, about committing to small things. I've done this in my own life where I pick little habits that I commit to. Okay? We need to commit to little habits. So this is your opportunity to bring some creativity to your discipline and say, you know what? I'm going to recognize that my conscientiousness muscle is quite weak. It's not strong. Okay, I can't handle much of the detailness, much of the sequencing, much of the daily burdens that are very up in the shoulders, right? But that doesn't mean I shouldn't handle any of it, because to ignore it more is going to make you more anxious and more depraved potentially, and chasing other coping mechanisms that take away briefly the pain of all the things that you should be doing. So here, with accepting a little habit that you could commit to, you get to pick what you're going to commit to. For me, for a period of about a year, it was simply making my blanket in the morning. I could not even make my bed. It was too much to make my bed in addition to everything else I could do. That's how weak the handling of details was for me. But I committed to making my blanket, and every morning, nearly without fail, I would fold my blanket up and it would be very beautiful, and that was enough to start my day. That was enough to work out that little muscle of low conscientiousness. That was enough to build something of value, even though it seemed extremely insignificant. So it's not only humility, it's a willingness to try to act in a way that, you know what, this teeny tiny activity may actually have some intrinsic value, and I promise you it does. You just have to commit to it. So it's not that we abandon our obligations, it's that we chain ourselves to a manageable obligation. We chain ourselves to something that we could do, that we would do. That's Peterson's quote from 12 Rules for Life. What could I do that I would do to make life a little better? So one way to think about this is, on your absolute worst day, what is an obligation that you can make with yourself that even on that day you still have a high chance of doing it? Making a blanket. I have a high chance of doing that even on those really hard days. Now, depending on your ability with this conscientiousness, you can make it a little harder, a little easier. You have to be honest with yourself through humility, and then with an approach of, hey, what can I handle that I would handle, that I choose to handle even on those hard days? And that will invoke this muscle of conscientiousness and build it up. Because I've seen this big problem with creative people. They promise so much. They have all these ideas. They tell people they're going to do this and this and that, and they do none of it. So along with that, I've also found that being more honest, promising less. And so that when you say something, when you promise something, you actually follow through on it. Because promising a lot and delivering on nothing makes you seem very dishonest, and it also makes you not be able to trust yourself. So committing to something small, committing to a daily meditation of 90 seconds, that's what I do, 90 seconds. And it can change my entire day. 10 breaths, 12 breaths, whatever it is. A little exercise, get up, do 10 push-ups, do 5 kettlebell swings, do something that you can do every morning. Something little, but something that you have to push a little to do. It can be also something specific to your project. We're talking about creativity. Maybe you're writing a story. Maybe you're building a schematic. Maybe you want to work on a paper or a project. Maybe you use this little vial of conscientiousness that you have to commit to writing 80 words a day. Maybe you're trying to develop more self-awareness and self-reflection. Maybe every time you go to bed at night, you write a single sentence in your journal. And if you're judging yourself of saying that's insignificant, that's stupid, that's where the buck needs to stop. To be aware of that voice that says that's too low for me, because that is actually pride that prevents you from exercising this muscle. If you need to handle more, if you need to handle it all, you may get 2 or 3 days into a new habit, and then the weight of it will crush you because you're not strong enough yet to deal with that little bit of conscientiousness. So pick a little thing that you can manage, chain yourself to it, commit yourself to it, try it for a few days, see how it feels, and then build that muscle little by little. Another thing I do is I cycle through these habits. I get bored of a specific habit after 3 or 4 weeks, try and push through that so that it becomes more of a habit, those 21-day marks. And then every month, I might alter the habit a little bit, or I might try a new one. I also give myself a break every Saturday. I don't do that habit. I do 6 out of 7 days, and I actually feel more refreshed for it. All those things are up to you, though. the main point is choose less, have the humility to say, you know what, I can't handle that much right now. Choose less, but commit to what you choose to. Commit to something that even on your worst day, you still have a high likelihood of doing. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you around.